At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
After over 37 years on the force, the highest-ranking woman in the California Highway Patrol, Deputy Commissioner Ramona Prieto is set to retire. As a trailblazer in a profession historically closed to women, Commissioner Prieto joins us today to offer her perspectives on the state of law enforcement and the memories of a life of service to the people of California. Commissioner Prieto, what was it like 37 years ago joining the California Highway Patrol?
You know, when I joined the California Highway Patrol, I always thought of it like a family. And so you join a family, and it's wonderful when you join a family that has the same values and the same perspectives as how you were brought up. So to me, it's been just a wonderful career.
What do you mean about how you were brought up? How did that impact the way that you received your experience at the CHP?
You know, growing up in San Francisco, I grew up with three brothers and my mom and dad. And it was interesting because your word is your seal. And there's a right and there's a wrong, and your work ethic is what defines you. And so when you look at things that maybe are happening in law enforcement and you think about the high level of professionalism, the high level of integrity, it's something that was drilled in to us in our family from a very early age.
And you had these brothers and a dad who, you know, sort of treated everybody the same. How did that experience inform kind of like the way that you approached your work or the things that you did at the CHP?
You know, for me, I always considered it my pleasure because my brothers were like my best friends. And growing up, my dad would say, okay, come on, this morning we're going to learn how to gap spark plugs, or today we're going to learn how to...
Gap spark?
Gap spark plug, or whatever the issue was, pick weeds in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And if my brothers were doing it, then I was expected to do it. So it wasn't like I came on to the Highway Patrol 37 years ago when there wasn't that many females, and I expected to be different. I expected to do whatever it took to make the grade, and something that I learned growing up. And I think there's so much that the Highway Patrol has to offer throughout the state, and I just hope that maybe people watching this, both men and women, would at least consider a career with the Highway Patrol, because there's so much opportunity and there's so many things that you can do.
How did you come to the Highway Patrol in the first place?
It's kind of interesting. I grew up in San Francisco, and I used to take the bus most places. And when I was young, I used to see Highway Patrol motor officers, and I thought, wow, that would be the best job ever if I could be a motor officer, say for the California Highway Patrol. And then I did a little research, and I looked at other departments, and I kept coming back to the Highway Patrol because of their professionalism, because of the mystique around the motor officer. And I applied, and I was accepted.
There is a mystique about the CHP, and part of it is that I'm not sure that we all understand exactly what you all do. Can you tell us what the CHP does exactly?
You know, it's really interesting because over time, we've accepted more responsibility and accepted more responsibility.
Now, we know you write a lot of tickets.
We do much more than just write tickets. And we write, it's important to know that we write tickets really with safety in mind, because we want people to drive within the speed limit. We want people to make sure that they're not driving under the influence. There's a lot of things we do with purpose, and we do them because we want, at the end of the day, we want our community safe, just like everyone else. And some of the things that we do that maybe people don't know about, we have a mounted patrol, we have a motorcycle patrol, we have a boat patrol, we protect state infrastructures, we protect state facilities, we protect constitutional officers. There's a lot of things that we do that maybe people don't see. We have a whole investigative team that goes out and tries to combat vehicle theft. There's many things that we're involved in.
You all protect constitutional officers, so are you the equivalent of the Secret Service?
No, back before 1995, there was a state police, and that was their charge to protect the constitutional officers, protect the Capitol. When the California Highway Patrol and the state police merged, then we became the people that did that function. So it's just a natural progression that before 95 we didn't do that, and then after 95 when we merged with the state police, now we do that. But to me it opens up the doors to a lot more that the Highway Patrol can do. Because when you think about a state organization and one of the largest highway patrols in the nation, we have a great responsibility, and there's a lot of things that we're involved in. We're involved in about 140 task forces across California working with police and sheriff on different issues impacting safety.
What do you think would be the most surprising thing for the people of California to know that you all are involved with?
You know, like right now, we have a team that we're trying to stand up that deals with mental illness. And why is that so important? Because in our communities, sometimes homeless people, some of them have mental illness, and there's not a place in every single community to take them. So the Highway Patrol is trying to get together with some of our counterparts and try to find out what's the best way that we as a community, as law enforcement community, as EMS community, as different communities can come together and make our community safe, make it safe for the people out there. Like anybody, we have a checkbook and we have to make sure that we spend our money wisely. But we can see that there's issues out there that as a statewide law enforcement agency, we can have impact.
Now, just so I'm clear, local law enforcement can operate in their jurisdiction. So a city cop operates within the city, a sheriff operates within a county, but CHP can go anywhere.
Right. Our primary jurisdiction, everybody has a primary jurisdiction. So our primary jurisdiction, as far as the freeways and the county roads would go, that would be our primary jurisdiction. But that doesn't mean that if we see somebody run a red light in a city that we can't take enforcement action. Oh, we can and we have. Because at the end of the day, we want to keep our community safe, and we have jurisdiction throughout the state. Our primary jurisdiction is in the city, on the freeways, and also it includes all state facilities.
You were the first female motorcycle officer with the CHP, correct?
That's correct.
What was that like at the time that you joined that really prestigious group? Tell us about that experience.
You know, I never, I don't usually go on and say, oh, guess what, I was the first, because I don't think it's important if you were first, last, or in the middle. I think it's really important what you do with the opportunity that you have. And for me, I worked probably a couple years, 2 or 3 years, quite a few hours a day learning the cone patterns, learning how to do it. Because I really believe that if you set your sight on a goal, then you have to figure out the progression. How do you get there? How do you get to attain what it is you want? So if somebody's watching the program and they want to be a highway patrol officer or they want to be a motor officer, that's their end game. How do they get there? How do they figure out how to do it? For me, my brothers all rode motorcycles, and my mom thought it would be a good idea if I didn't ride motorcycles. So
why not?
Because, you know, she at the time, this was back in the early 70s, she didn't think that maybe ladies should ride motorcycles, and for whatever the reason. And I would tell my mom, I'm not going to do anything crazy. I just really want to know.
Well, I have to assume that she wasn't alone in that opinion. There must have been at least a few of your colleagues who, when you first entered into doing motorcycle patrol, weren't necessarily thrilled with it. Did you face any resistance at all?
You know what, I would again go to people's uncertainty of whether or not I could do the job doesn't define me, I define me. And I always came to the table saying, maybe I'm a little bit better in this area or a little bit worse in this area, but my determination, I'm going to figure out how to do it, and I'm going to do it the very best I can. And at the end of the day, you're going to have 1,000% from me, because I'm going to focus in on what I need to do to be successful. And not just successful for me, but successful in helping other people attain whatever the goal is that they want to attain. Because I think it's important that we don't go through life saying, God, I wish I would have tried that, or I wish I would have done that. That we really focus in and figure out how can we get to that level.
So 37 years later, as the deputy commissioner, you've got some fairly vast responsibilities, and you have a lot of what some might call bling on your shoulders. Where do those stars come from?
You know, we're a paramilitary organization, so when you start out usually as a cadet, then you go to officer, then sergeant, then lieutenant, then captain. Captain has 2 bars on their collar, then assistant chief with 1 star, and then a deputy chief or a chief that has jurisdiction of a whole division, usually has 2 stars, and then assistant commissioner of the field or the staff, they have 3 stars, then deputy commissioner has 4 stars, and the commissioner has 5 stars.
Let's talk a little bit about the interaction with the public. Recently, there's been a lot of headlines in the news related to tough conversations and some tough incidents related to law enforcement and the community. How does the CHP interface with the community so that there are open lines of communication?
You know, in each of our area offices, there's an expectation that we have good, robust conversations within the community because it is so important. The first time I have a conversation with anyone shouldn't be in the middle of a crisis. It should be if the person is a community leader, I should already know who they are. I should already know their cell phone number. I should already be able to talk with them. And I think it really is beneficial on both sides because then people within the community can know what we do and what we stand for, and likewise we can go to them when there's something that maybe we're looking into, if it's an investigation or if it's something that maybe will take further follow-up.
There was a incident that happened sometime in the not too distant past where a CHP officer had gotten into an altercation with a citizen, and the community was very upset about it. The interesting part to me about that, though, was I want to read something to you. This is related to a group of activists that you held a meeting with. A pastor who was involved in the matter had said that you, speaking specifically of you, that you had come down, changed your schedule, and made a meeting with this group of activists who were extremely upset over the situation which was being investigated. And he said, anytime you have a commissioner leave a meeting to come down to do this, which was have a meeting on the spur of the moment, understand the importance of this, and appreciate where we're coming from, and that she really heard us. That makes a difference. And this was Pastor William Smart of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Do you remember that incident?
I remember it well.
What inspired you to change your day in order to meet with this group of just lay community members?
You know, I think it's really important, and not just myself, but all the commissioners in this particular case went down and met with the community because it was that important. Anytime there is a community that feels they weren't treated justly and they come together, there's 2 options. You can say nothing, or you can go down and explain that, as we did as a team, you know, we just saw this video. We just found out this happened.
Incidentally, can you kind of share with me again, what was the nature of the incident?
The nature of the incident, there was a homeless person walking on the freeway, and there was a belief that the homeless person was going to walk out into the lanes and be in harm's way. So our officer, as seen in the video, tried to have the homeless person not walk out into the lane, and then there was some an altercation with the officer and this person. So the community felt that the altercation was too severe, that the beating that the person took was over the top. So when you looked at the video, we had more questions than we had answers, and I had gotten a call from a friend of mine on LAPD, and they asked me, they said, Mona, where are you? I'm here in LA at a meeting. Could you leave the meeting and come down? They really want to talk to someone. And, hey, I'm there. But it's not just me, that's what our department stands for.
That seems so out of the box and anti-protocol, you know, don't talk, button up, close off. What is it about how you see those incidents that made you do that, though?
You know, I think it's important because I always say, like, if you're at a collision scene and you say no comment, then sometimes the media will go over to somebody that's sitting on the side of the road and say, hey, can you tell me what happened? And maybe their perspective of what happened isn't what really happened. So if we just talk about what we know, we saw the video a couple minutes after you probably saw it. we are as alarmed as you are. I'm the mother of 5 daughters. If that was my daughter, I would be upset. If that was my mother, I would be upset. But before we prejudge a situation, I don't like to do that. I like to find out, tell me what the facts are, and let our department do the investigation and come to a conclusion. But in the meantime, I will tell you everything I can tell you within the law. And there's certain things in the law that I can't talk about. But as far as what I can talk about, I will definitely talk to you about it. That's what our department's all about. Our department is as transparent as you can be, something that I really admire. Our commissioner made several trips down to LA to talk to a lot of the community leaders. Our commissioner went to different services and talked in front of congregations to make sure that people understood we're all about transparency, but there's certain things we can't talk about, and we're still looking into this matter.
Those seem like normal, very humane things to do. Why do you think that doesn't happen more often?
You know, I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't happen. I don't know what protocols are in other departments. I just know what the protocol is in our department. And anytime, like if there's a civil unrest, if there's a demonstration, we try to have our chiefs out in front of the media. We try to have our public information officers making sure that we pass on what we know, what we can talk about. Because I think when the community sees you as someone that, hey, we're as transparent as the next person. We're trying to get to the end of the day to keep our community safe. That's what we're trying to do. Now, if we have a hiccup along the way, if we do something that's maybe not what we're supposed to do, we're happy to look at it more carefully and put protocols in place to prevent that from happening. But at least let us look into it before we start talking about it in the media. Let us look into it and do a complete and thorough investigation.
In your own decade-spanning career, what situation comes to mind when you think of the toughest encounter you've had in doing your job?
You know, for me, I think every encounter that you have in life is a training. It's a lesson. Like, what did you do well, and what could you have done better? So, whether I'm an officer on patrol, whether I'm a sergeant responsible for people that are on patrol, whether I'm a lieutenant or a captain, in life we're going to see things that, hey, we did this really, really well, but there's a couple things over here we probably could have done better. And I think what I appreciate about the Highway Patrol is we're always looking for the next best way. We're not sitting back saying, okay, we got this. We're always looking to see what more can we do? How can we keep our people safe? How can we keep the community safe? How can we provide that indispensable service so that people really know, A, what we do, and B, that we're here to provide them a community that's safe.
Now, today, you're not on patrol anymore. With your responsibilities, what do you consider to be, as you're looking at other young people, young women, who are trying to make a career in the force, if they get a moment with you, what do you share with them in terms of advice?
You know, I always tell people that I champion the Highway Patrol, and I want the Highway Patrol to reflect the community. I want the Highway Patrol to be seamless and to say, you know what, we have people within our ranks that mirror the community. So anything that we can do to achieve that goal is important to me, because I think if you only focus in on women, or you only focus in on men, or you only focus in on a certain ethnicity, you're missing the whole rainbow. And for me, I really hope that every person that wears our uniform is looking for the next best candidate.
Well, let me refine the question and ask you this: if I were a young person, which obviously I'm not, sitting in front of you and saying, you've been so successful and I would like to achieve the level of success that you've had, what would you advise me to do? What characteristics would you advise me to embody that you've embodied?
You know, I think for me, and I have several conversations with my daughters and with their friends and with their counterparts, I talk about the greatness of the Highway Patrol, because to me, it's not just a job, it's a profession, it's a career, it's something that gives me great satisfaction. But I think for me, I like to focus in on education, whether that's looking at something that you did and how could you do it better, whether it's formal education as far as a master's or a bachelor's, or trying to find the next best way so you can help people do a really good job. I think, to me, education is a stabilizer, because it helps people look at a situation maybe a little bit different. And I think that's a great thing. And never just resting on, okay, I got this. always looking for that next best way.
And what has your success and your career, what has it meant for your daughters?
You know, it's interesting because each of my daughters have a different perspective. Two of my daughters are in law enforcement. One's a detective, one's a crime scene analyst, and then one of my daughters plays volleyball in Europe, and one of my daughters works for PG&E, and then one of my daughters is in college right now. And they all know that if there's anything that you want in life, don't let anybody else define whether you can or can't do it. Find a way, because we all have hiccups in our life. We all have roadblocks. And it might be a self-imposed roadblock, or it might be something that we can't quite figure out. But go and find out, how do you get around that roadblock? How do you get around that issue of something that you really want? And if you really want it, don't take your eye off the ball. Go for it.
Now, you've done motorcycle as well as in cars.
Right.
What's your preference?
You know, my mantra.
Or are you not allowed to say?
No, I always say this, and it's no secret that I believe that motors lead the way, and I think it's a mystique, and I think it's just a pleasure to be able to get through traffic and help somebody a little bit quicker because you're on a motorcycle. And I think sometimes when you're on a motorcycle, people come up to you and they talk to you, and you're really involved in the community, in my opinion, a little bit more because you have that close contact. And I think in my entire career, it's one of the best jobs I've ever had.
Now, what people at home are really going to want to know is, did you ever meet Eric Estrada?
You know, it's funny, CHPS used to film in our office in Central LA. So yes, we met all the players of CHPS, and I have great respect for them because they brought into light some of the things that the Highway Patrol does. And it was a very popular program back in the 80s, and it gave the Highway Patrol a lot of focus and a lot of good recruitment efforts.
And with what you focus on today, you talk about some of your sort of broader jurisdictional issues that you're involved with, like mental health and mental illness and things like that. What involvement do you all have in things like securing ports or drug interdiction, things like that?
We have task forces that deal with, say, drug interdiction and human trafficking and just a myriad of things. And we are involved with law enforcement in the cities and law enforcement in the counties and Department of Justice. And we are a collaborative model because we feel to be effective, we have to be good beat partners, so to speak, with the other law enforcement agencies. And we do a really good job. We have, say, 140 plus task forces throughout the state. And just that alone is bigger than some departments. Some departments don't have 140 officers, but yet we have assisted in that regard because we believe that it's important.
What issues are sort of emerging right now that are of most concern to the department?
You know, I think the mental illness issue is a real big concern because sometimes when people are homeless and there's mental illness issues, where do they go? And do they ever get on the freeway? And if they do, are they in harm's way? And how can we, in a collaborative model, help that situation? How can we, in a collaborative model, make it better for the people that are driving on the freeway, for the people that are homeless? How can we be a positive impact in that regard?
And in these task forces that you work on, these are multi-jurisdictional. Are these just local folks, or is it federal folks as well?
Some of them involve federal folks, but most of them are county and city in a collaborative model, and of course, Department of Justice.
And with regards to someone who wants to get involved in a career with the CHP, what characteristics are you all looking for these days?
You know, we always say that if we go on our internet, you can look at what the minimum qualifications are, but it's like, who would you like to be your law enforcement officer? You'd probably like somebody that had high integrity, high honesty, and things of that nature, be in good athletic shape, be able to do whatever the minimum requirement is. But I think more so than that, have a passion to help people, because in our profession, one of the things that I admire about the Highway Patrol is that it doesn't matter if you're taking an accident, if you're helping somebody on the side of the road, or if you're trying to slow down traffic. All those things are important to traffic safety, and all those things are part of what we do.
And for those of us who are on the road all the time, when you think about traffic safety, are there particular things that you, as the Highway Patrol, representing the Highway Patrol, wish that we as drivers, other than drive slower, wish we would do less of or do more of in order to protect traffic safety?
You know, I think about all of us, and everybody has a family, and everybody wants to keep their family safe. So do we. So a lot of the things that the community wants, we want. So I always say, slow down, buckle up, drive sober. So slow down, you know, follow the speed limit laws, and if it's raining, slow down even more, and then buckle up, because the seatbelt's your number one traffic safety device. The seatbelt, making sure that you'll survive a horrific crash. We just had a crash this morning where 5 people were killed, and none of them were wearing their seatbelt. That's tragic, because it could have been prevented. And then drive sober, designated driver, and take that seriously. And then another thing that we're seeing emerge is texting while driving or talking on the phone while driving, because that diverts your attention from traffic safety. And it's not just what you're doing in the car, it's what's happening around you. That can you take evasive action if something happens around you?
Good advice, and we're going to leave it there. Congratulations on your career, and best wishes to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that's our show. Thanks to our guest, and thanks to you for watching Studio Sacramento. I'm Scott Syfax. See you next time right here on KVIE.
At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
All episodes of Studio Sacramento, along with other KVIE programs, are available to watch online at kvie.org/video.